When I leaned in for a kiss, she pushed me away, then went on a date. Here's what I realized about love. I'm Joey, 28, and the girl I'm seeing, Sandy, is 28 too. We live about 2 hours apart, which somehow made everything feel more intense instead of harder, at least at the start. By the time we hit 1 month, it already felt like something real was forming. 5 dates, talking every day, long phone calls at night. I still remember the first date clearly. The spark was instant. Sandy was sharp and funny in a dry, almost challenging way. Her banter came fast, like she was always one step ahead. She wasn't warm or openly flirty, and that was exactly what pulled me in. She felt hard to read. Not closed off exactly, just guarded. I told myself I liked that she wasn't easy. It felt like a puzzle worth solving, not a red flag. The distance quickly became part of the story we told ourselves. Every time I drove to see her, it felt like an event. I'd make playlists just for the drive, stop for coffee halfway, justify the gas money by telling myself, this is what effort looks like. Seeing her wasn't just hanging out, it was a trip. Something planned, something that mattered. That framing made everything feel deeper than it probably was. We talked every day, that became our normal. Most of the time, I was the one starting the conversations. I'd send the, "How's your day going?" texts. She always replied, usually quickly, but she never sent the good morning texts first. I noticed, but I brushed it off. Our messages were mostly jokes, teasing, sarcastic back and forth. Fun, but light. We didn't really talk about feelings or expectations. It felt safe that way. Early on, there were signs I chose to explain away. The first time I leaned in to kiss her and she pulled back slightly, my brain went straight into excuse mode. She's shy, I told myself. She's probably been hurt before. I just need to be patient. I framed my waiting as a good thing. Proof that I was understanding, respectful, different from other guys. Looking back, that moment mattered more than I admitted. She wasn't unclear. She was showing me a boundary. But instead of asking what it meant, I turned it into a challenge in my head. If I was calm enough, patient enough, consistent enough, she'd open up. That belief quietly set the tone for everything that came after. It was one of those nights when we'd watched a movie together, the credits rolling and the room quiet except for the soft hum of the TV. I was sitting close to Sandy on the couch, and on impulse, I reached out to put my arm around her. She stiffened immediately, didn't look at me. Her voice was flat, calm, but it cut through me like ice. "Get away from me." I froze for a second, the words echoing in my head. The warmth I'd felt just minutes ago evaporated. My arm retreated awkwardly, my hand hovering uselessly before I let it drop. I felt like a creep. Like I'd overstepped some invisible line I didn't even know existed. The air between us turned thin, tense. Hours later, everything flipped. We were in her bedroom. She initiated, intense and wordless, like nothing had happened on the couch. It was raw, almost violent in its energy, like she needed it, not because of me, but to fill some other void. Afterwards, she rolled over and stared at the ceiling. No good night, no cuddling. I lay there, utterly confused, my mind spinning, trying to construct a story to explain it. Maybe she'd been hurt before, maybe she was scared to let anyone in. Anything to make sense of the contradiction. I even brought it up vaguely with a friend, trying to process without sounding crazy. "I think she's been hurt," I said. My friend raised an eyebrow. "Or she's just kind of a jerk who uses you for attention when she's bored." I dismissed it, cynical, negative. That couldn't be Sandy, not the witty, sharp, fun Sandy I liked. But the pattern started to solidify. This push-pull became our rhythm. I learned to tread lightly, waiting for her permission to be intimate. I told myself it was patience, that I was understanding, but somewhere along the way, I started seeing her guardedness to win instead of a boundary. And that, I realize now, was the start of the emotional trap. That same week, I called Sandy on Friday night, craving her voice like I always did after a long week. The work week had beaten me down, and I wanted to hear her laugh, feel that spark from our earlier calls. "Hey, what are you up to this weekend?" I asked, trying to keep it casual but hoping she'd say something sweet. "Maybe, I was hoping to see you," or, "I miss you too." Instead, she sounded indifferent, almost testing. "Oh, I've got a date actually," she said, like it was nothing. Just a statement, no softening, no, "but I wish it was you." No hesitation. It hit me like a punch to the gut. I forced my voice to stay neutral. "Oh, cool, have fun." Inside, my thoughts were racing. Is this a test? Did I say something wrong? Is it because I can't make it this weekend? Did I push her away? The second the call ended, I spiraled. I reread my texts from earlier in the week, my note about not being able to find a place to stay. Could that have pushed her to someone else? My mind built the story brick by brick. I wasn't there. I wasn't available. She went on a date because of me. I checked my phone obsessively, replaying our messages, trying to find some sign I'd done something wrong. Every notification felt like a judgment. Every text I had sent over the last month was under a microscope. For the first time, the casual thrill of our dynamic felt sharp. The distance, the mystery, the push-pull, it all suddenly stung. And I couldn't shake the sense that I had just been given a message I wasn't ready to decode. I sat on my bed after the call, staring at my phone, trying to make sense of it all. Part of me knew the truth. Sandy didn't technically do anything wrong. We never had the exclusivity talk. Technically, she's allowed to go on dates. I'd never set the boundary, so, it's my fault, right? I rolled that thought over in my head again and again. It's my fault for not locking it down. I should have asked. I should have made it clear. Turning my very real hurt into a personal failure felt almost like a coping mechanism. Then came the projection. I knew, deep down, she wouldn't like it if I were going on dates while seeing her. Why did I let her play by a different set of rules? Part of me already had her on a pedestal, mysterious and untouchable, a wounded queen with rules I could never fully understand. My anger and jealousy tangled with admiration, and it made me feel helpless. The 2-hour distance became an easy explanation for everything. Her coldness, she's protecting herself. It's hard to get attached long distance. The date, she's lonely because I'm not there. She needs someone, and I'm just not close enough. Every action she took was reframed as a judgment on me. I ignored the bigger picture, the constant hostile banter, the push-pull intimacy, the way she guarded herself like it was a game. I focused entirely on the date, as if that one act was the core problem, rather than seeing the whole pattern for what it really was. And the more I justified it, the tighter the trap of my own overthinking closed around me. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, replaying our last conversation over and over. My head was a mess of what-ifs. Do I say something? Do I let it go? The easiest instinct whispered at me first, the nice guy play. Don't bring it up, just be better. Plan something bigger, something grand for next weekend. Be so kind, so attentive, so understanding that she'll forget about the other guy and choose me. I could already see myself making reservations, buying tickets, rehearsing jokes for her. The thought made my chest ache with desperate hope. This was the classic pick-me act. If I shined brighter, maybe I could win her approval, her choice, her attention. Another option tempted me, the passive-aggressive withdrawal. Stop texting first. Don't answer right away. Let her notice. Let her chase you. I imagined her opening her phone and seeing silence from me, then the guilt washing over her. I wanted her to see my hurt without me having to admit it. I didn't want to be needy. But a third, scarier path lingered in the corner of my mind, the direct question. Call her. Say what's on your mind. Be honest. I rehearsed it silently. Hey, when you mentioned your date, it caught me off guard. I've really been enjoying my time with you, and I was hoping we were moving towards something exclusive. Can we talk about where we stand? Even saying it in my head made my stomach twist. I imagined how she might respond. Dismissive. Whoa, we're just having fun. Don't make it serious. The truth I'd been avoiding. Defensive. You said you couldn't see me. What was I supposed to do? Twisting my hurt into my fault. The question was simple, in theory. Do I fight for clarity, or do I dance around the edges hoping she'll choose me anyway? The answer wasn't easy. It hit me on a random Tuesday, walking down the street when I ran into Amy, an ex I'd ignored red flags with for years. She was laughing, arm in arm with someone else, clearly happy. She looked at me and said, softly but firmly, you always did try to fix people who didn't want to be fixed, Joey. Her words stung, but they also opened a door I'd been avoiding. Maybe I was seeing Sandy through the same lens I'd used with Amy, focusing on potential, ignoring reality. Later that night, I told my best friend Steve everything, the couch rejection, the push-pull intimacy, the casual announcement of her date, all of it. He listened quietly, then looked me straight in the eye. Joey, he said, she's not that into you. She's using you for attention and sex on her terms. That date, that's her telling you outright, you're an option. Believe her. The words felt like a slap and a relief at the same time. I grabbed a notebook and started a literal cost-benefit list. Column A. The potential. Witty, sharp, magnetic chemistry when she lets me in, exciting, fun. Column B. The reality. Hostile in banter, physically and emotionally withholding, emotionally unavailable, goes on dates without care for my feelings, long distance, exhausting. It was clear. The fantasy I'd been holding onto, the version of Sandy I imagined breaking down her walls, laughing with me every night, building something together, wasn't real. The real Sandy was the one who pushed me away, tested me, and kept me dangling. I had to mourn that fantasy. I had to accept that the Sandy who goes on dates while keeping me at arm's length is the only Sandy that exists. No amount of charm, patience, or hope could change that. And for the first time in a long time, I could see the red flags clearly, not as puzzles to solve, but as bright, warning signals. It was painful, but it was clarity, and that clarity was mine. After I finished my cost-benefit list and let the truth sink in, I felt a quiet, cold determination settle over me. I knew what had to happen. I drafted a final text, each word carefully chosen. Sandy, I've enjoyed parts of our time together, but I'm looking for a mutually enthusiastic and exclusive connection. It's clear we want different things. I wish you the best. I paused, reread it once, then hit send. My chest ached for a moment, but there was also a strange relief. No more guessing games. No more anxious drives, no more endless banter that left me drained. I blocked her on everything. The digital leash, the constant guessing, the emotional tug of war, it was gone. In the weeks that followed, I felt the usual pangs of missing someone, but they were tempered by clarity. I wasn't mourning a person who had treated me poorly, I was shedding a version of myself that had tolerated being an option. After sending the final text to Sandy, I couldn't stop myself from peeking. Just one quick check, I told myself. One look at her socials to see, what exactly? Closure. Proof I'd made the right call. Or maybe just to relive the parts I'd liked. I opened her profile, heartbeat increasing. There she was, smiling in a new photo, arm around the guy from her weekend date. He lived nearby, much closer than me. They looked easy together, laughing over coffee, sitting on a balcony with the sunlight hitting them perfectly. A mundane, ordinary moment, but to me it felt like a highlight reel of everything I wasn't. Available, chosen, effortlessly included. I clicked on his profile out of curiosity, or jealousy, looking for something, anything, to explain it. The posts were normal. Work updates, casual selfies, weekend hikes. Nothing scandalous, nothing dramatic, and yet, the simplicity of it was worse. They were just happy. No puzzles, no games, no guarded walls. I sat back and realized I'd been spiraling, obsessing over details, rewriting stories in my head, searching for hidden meanings that weren't there. My imagination had been doing all the work, fueling anxiety that Sandy didn't even intend to provoke. It stung, but in the same moment, a small part of me understood something vital. Her life would move on, and I didn't need to be part of that picture. Watching them smile, I finally began to see that my time and energy deserved a space where happiness wasn't conditional or fragmented, a place where I wasn't an option, but a priority. It was painful, it was sharp, but it was clarity. And for the first time in months, I could close the apps without guilt and let my own life start moving forward. A week later, I found myself in a quiet corner of my sister's apartment, wine in hand, finally letting the tension of the last month spill out. I recounted everything, the push-pull with Sandy, the casual date announcement, the endless guessing games. She listened, nodding, then asked gently, "Joey, do you see a pattern here?" At first, I shook my head. Pattern? What pattern? Then I started thinking back. Amy, the ex I ignored red flags for, another girl from college who played the hot and cold game, girls I'd always tried to fix or decode. They were all the same type. Guarded, elusive, wounded in some way I felt I could heal, or at least navigate. The thrill of the chase, the idea that if I just understood her, broke down her walls, things would be perfect, it was intoxicating. And familiar. Therapy later reinforced it. My therapist asked questions I wasn't expecting. What did it feel like when your father or mother were unavailable or emotionally distant? When did you learn that attention had to be earned? My chest tightened. Of course, the patterns weren't random. I was drawn to people who triggered a familiar dynamic. The wounded I could nurture, the one who might reject me, but that rejection felt like home. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't just Sandy. It was me, my history, and the loops I'd unconsciously been running for years. Recognizing it stung, but it also empowered me. For the first time, I could see why I'd ignored red flags, why I'd justified behaviors that hurt me, and most importantly, how I could break the cycle. This wasn't about blaming anyone else. It was about understanding myself, so that next time, I could choose someone who actually wanted to meet me halfway. It had been a few weeks. Life was quieter, slower, calmer. I had routines that weren't dictated by someone else's moods or phone calls. I was starting to feel a little bit like myself again. Then, late one night, my phone buzzed. A message from Sandy saying, "Hey you." The words were simple, but they hit me like a lightning bolt. My chest tightened, my mind raced. The temptation to respond was enormous. Just a little, hey, just to see her, just to feel the thrill of the chase again. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, heart hammering. I felt the pull of old patterns, the fantasy of breaking down her walls, of being the one she finally lets in. I remembered the push-pull, the date, the hostility masked as banter. I remembered the cost, the confusion, the anxiety, the nights I spent questioning myself instead of living my life. I took a deep breath. I put the phone down. I didn't respond. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. It was proof that I could see the flag without chasing the mystery, that I could prioritize my own peace over the flicker of old desire. That night, I slept without guilt, without questions, and without her shadow hovering over me. For the first time, the choice wasn't just about leaving someone, it was about choosing myself. By the time spring rolled around, I realized the story wasn't about Sandy anymore, it was about me. I had learned, painfully and thoroughly, what I would no longer tolerate. I practiced asking the hard questions early now. What are you looking for? Where do you see this going? No more dancing around ambiguity, no more hoping someone's walls would magically crumble for me. I had learned to walk away at the first real sign of disrespect. The icy, "Get away from me" moments weren't cute puzzles to solve, they were warnings I could now see. I started noticing small, consistent signs of care in the people around me, and I valued them far more than the dizzying potential of someone who was unpredictable, witty, or thrilling in bursts. I understood that steady, kind effort, day after day, was the real marker of someone worth my time and energy. One evening, I set a boundary with a new interest, not as a punishment, not as a test, but as an act of self-respect. I said what I needed, calmly and clearly, and watched them respond with understanding. There was no anxiety, no second-guessing, no lingering what-ifs. For the first time, I felt the solid weight of my own standards. I didn't need to decode anyone, chase anyone, or explain myself for wanting care and consistency. I just knew what I deserved, and I was finally ready to claim it. Months later, I went on a first date with someone new. She lived just 20 minutes away. When I met her, she kissed me hello without hesitation. There was no game, no mystery to decode, no guarded walls to crack. I felt a jolt of warm, simple compatibility. It was effortless, and in that effortless connection, I finally understood what it truly means to be wanted, seen, and chosen. I smiled to myself, realizing that sometimes, the most difficult breakups are the ones that teach you exactly what partnership should feel like. And this time, I was ready for it.